Hi everyone and welcome to Unit Review. We're your hosts Jack
and Dan.
Today we're going to be talking about a model that I love to hate because of the way it can swing, but it is the Doomsday Ark.
Yes.
I generally do love this model. I think it's a class looking model. It has a massive punch as long as you roll the dice at the right,
He's a bit swingy. Right, he's a bit swingy, but yeah, we do love the angry boat with the big gun. So yeah, it's got a bit more to it than just the anti-tank, and there's a few ways to play it. So should we get stuck in?
Yeah, dive straight in there. I was going to call you Jack there for a second. Dan, stop block. What we got?
So it's got a 10-inch movement, which is reasonable.
Yeah.
It's got 9 toughness.
Yeah.
It's got a 3-up save and a 4-up invuln.
Really good.
It's got 14 wounds. Leadership of 7 and an OC of 5, which is also reasonably chunky.
You see, I look at that and I'm like, that's a solid stat block for a vehicle. I mean, the invuln save, 14 wounds. Again, the combos that we have later on, as most of these videos, we just add on top, which is really good to see. Very good start. Wargear, another big leap in my eyes, to be fair. So we'll start with the big one, the Doomsday Cannon. What a name as well, right? You know you're going to be packing a punch with this one.
It actually lives up to the hype.
It does, actually, it really does. So the Doomsday Cannon, it is 72-inch range. In case you think you weren't going to hit it, you are going to hit stuff.
If you can see it on the table, you can shoot it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But actually saying that, and I still measure. I still pull up my tape measure. I'm like, is that right? Anyways, 72-inch range. It has D6 plus 1 attack. So again, that's where you can get a bit nervous. If you roll the 1, it's sad. You're looking for those high numbers on that dice roll. You're hitting on freeze. Strength 18. Massive on that one. Minus 4 AP, which is probably one of the biggest AP ones in there, and flat damage 4, which is a massive improvement to what it was in the past. Because in the past it was D6 damage. Yes. The flat 4, perfect. Yeah. It's the sweet spot in my eyes.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's also, it's got blast, but it's also got heavy, hasn't it?
Exactly.
Which is nice. So
heavy basically allows, if you remain stationary, you get a +1 to your ballistic skill. So instead of 3s, you go into 2s. Which is pretty handsome. And some nice combos later that we've got to tie in as well. But we'll move on to the Gauss Flare Array. So this is 24-inch range. It has 5 attacks, hit on freeze, strength 4, no AP, and 1 damage. It has rapid fire 5, so you'll be typically shooting 10 attacks.
Shots, and it's got 2 of those, hasn't it? So,
it does.
Yeah,
it does.
And like all Gauss weapons, they've got lethal hits.
Lethal hits, exactly. So any 6s that you roll, straight through. Nice. Forget the wounds, straight through. And probably the shining beacon of the entire list is its melee attack. It's called Armored Bulk.
That's what you get if you put me in chainmail. Armored Bulk, isn't it?
Just pure bulk.
Yeah.
But yes, it has 3 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 6, no AP, and 1 damage.
Yes.
You don't get this guy in combat. If you get in combat, the blast keyword, you can't use its Doomsday Cannon, so you want to avoid that as much as possible. So that's its weapon profile. Again, very good boost in power, but abilities, Dan, what we're working with.
I mean, let's start, first of all, when it blows up, like most vehicles, it's got Deadly Demise D3, so just watch out for that. Faction rule is reanimation protocol, so you're getting D3 wounds back in your command phase.
Spot on.
So that makes it just even more tanky.
Yep.
And it's also got overwhelming obliteration. So this is great. We already talked about heavy here, giving you +1 to hit if you stay still.
Correct.
But also, if you stay still, your Doomsday Cannon gets devastating wounds, and that takes it to a whole new level.
It's crazy power. Yeah. It's really good. Getting those dev wounds through to basically just obliterate you guys. Literally, it's in the name. Obliterate them all. Yeah. It's so handsome, so good. Yeah. Cool. Moving on to unit composition. We've got obviously just the one Doomsday Ark by itself.
You can't run them in anything more than ones, but that's fine.
It has it's one model and it is 200 points. So I would say it's pretty good. It's high, but for the damage output and its toughness that it has with the invuln save and again the combos that we got later, I think it's justified. I think it's in a nice sweet spot.
Yeah, I would agree. I think anything under 220 is reasonable. Yeah, I think I would still be taking them at 220 or under.
Definitely.
Not that I'm asking for a point hike. By the time this video comes out, we will have had a data slate probably, or we'll just be about to have one.
So I'll probably put in the comments. I'll probably like a pinned comment at the top of any changes that may have made, just specifically with this video. Yes. Be easier. But cool. Keywords, Dan. What we're working with.
Yes. So let's start again with the negative. So it does have the damage keyword. So once you get to 5 wounds or fewer remaining, each time it makes an attack, you have to subtract 1 from the hit roll.
Sometimes.
Otherwise, it's all very straightforward. It's got the Necrons faction keyword. And then the other keywords are you'd expect, which is vehicle. It's got fly, so watch out for that one for anti-fly, obviously. And it's got the Doomsday Ark keyword.
Exactly. Yeah, spot on.
All very straightforward.
Good. good. Moving on to some of the best attachments then. So I think we both agree that the Hypercrypt Legion is the best kind of one, isn't it, for this?
Yes, I definitely think so. We tend to play tournament terrain setups, and they are obviously designed mainly to create massive firing lanes.
Yeah.
So line of sight can be an issue. If you're playing against a good opponent, then you need then the ability to pick this up off the board, put it back down again. You're always going to get line of sight.
Exactly. And you can only do that in the Hypercrypt Legion. So at the end of the opponent's turn, you get to pick up the model and basically bring it back in reserves or deep strike, which in this case most likely going to be reserves because it doesn't have the deep strike keyword.
Yeah, I mean, because of all the stuff that we've just listed there in terms of its like raw damage output is really good.
Really good.
It's also quite hard to shift because it can. It's got a 4-up invuln and quite a lot of wounds, high toughness. So
regains them wounds back as well.
Regaining wounds back as well. So while there's the same amount of synergy in the other detachments, it works in most of them pretty well.
I think it stands alone by itself in a lot of detachments. Yeah, I mean, I've in every one of my detachments I've used, I've actually brought a Doomsday Ark because I'm just like, well, it can stand alone. It doesn't need the buff.
The only one I wouldn't use it in and haven't used it in is Canoptek Court because the Canoptek Doomstalker obviously has the Canoptek keyword, so it gets all of the benefits of that detachment.
And that's all for that people out there. The Canoptek Court gives them the rerolls and rerolls to the wound rolls inside of the.
It's 4 rerolls to hit inside your zone, and
it's good. Yeah.
So it's tasty, very tasty.
Definitely, bring that, and it's cheaper as well. It's cheaper, so you just get more benefit for the other one in that case.
Yeah, it's cheaper to run 3 Doomstalkers than 2 Doomsday Arks.
Yeah, there we go, spot on.
Stratagem wise, then where should we start there?
Yes, so Cosmic Precision. This is in the Hypercrypt Legion. It's 1 CP. Basically, when you remove this model, be using the detachment rule, basically you bring it off the field at the end of your opponent's turn, and in your movement phase, you bring this guy back on. You can place him anywhere on the battlefield, more than 3 inches away from your opponent, and this just allows you to be getting those positions to shoot at the target and effectively destroy them.
And you can catch your opponent by surprise because this doesn't have the deep strike keyword. So normally when you take it off the table, you've got to come back on a board edge.
Exactly.
But using this strat, you can come in anywhere.
Exactly.
Outside of 3 inches of an enemy unit.
It certainly does.
That's big.
It's I feel like this is one of those gotcha moments. So I typically do tell my opponent, I'm like, look, this is what it can do. Beware, I am going to be doing it. So just FYI, you guys are going to die, basically. So I do tell them about it, but they do come in. Now, the only restriction is that you can't declare a charge, but do not charge this unit. This unit is designed to shoot. Keep it that way all game. But that's the first one I would say. For 1 CP, it's a steal.
It really is. That's phenomenal. I didn't realise how good that was.
Imagine 3 of them in an army and you're just teleporting them around. Shivers. Good shivers. But shivers. Next one, Dan, what we're looking at?
This is also in the Hypercrypt Legion. This one is called Reanimation Crypts.
Nice.
And this is when it's off the board, you can still, even though it's off the board in your command phase, you can still enact its reanimation protocols.
Correct.
So if you took it off there because it's injured, and you can get some more wounds back on it, and then bring it back in the next turn.
Exactly.
So it's very straightforward, but just handy thing to have to keep it alive. Really.
Yeah. 1 CP for those potential free wounds. Back up, because that could be I'd primarily be using that when I'm maybe on like that 1 to 5 damage characteristics. You want that extra. You roll it, get up. I think it'd be really good, really handy. Very nice. Last one, I think, is the Awakened Dynasty. It's called the Protocol of the Southern Storm. So this one happens in your movement phase against 1 CP. You select 1 Necrons unit from your army. And until the end of that turn, ranged weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Assault ability. So in addition, and then there's also an addition if there's if it's a Necron character, but this guy's not a character. No. He's a little fella. So basically the Assault keyword, really good because he's got 10-inch movement.
Yes.
So being able to 10-inch move plus
D6 advance.
Advance to get in those little awkward positions. And maybe you want him to do an action. You could move him up, get him in there and do it. Or primarily you want him to shoot. He's designed to shoot. He's designed to kill. Let him do it.
Yeah, I think if memory serves us, they're changing the rules about advancing doing actions in
they are.
Brian Nexus, aren't they? But for shooting, that's a brilliant idea because it just gives you your opponent might think, well, it's only got 10-inch movement. It can't see me. But it can.
It can, and it has fly. So if they were trying to space her out to try and not get you to allow you to land somewhere, you can then just be like, all right, I'm going to advance and use this. Just
fly over the screen and
on the screen.
Nice,
really good.
Love it.
Happy days. Right, best ways to play the unit then. Dan, do you want to start off with the first one?
Yeah, I think that is the most obvious, but it's as a big game hunter, so it's got the damage output, particularly with the Dev Wounds, to put the hurt on almost anything in the game. So, fire at your opponent's big stuff, take out the big threats.
So good. Yeah. So good. Yeah, he's simple but effective.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
That's what he's there to do.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, this one really speaks to me. So this one, backfield objective holder.
Yes.
He has the 5 OC, so he's already pretty good at OC wise, and he's just so tough that you can leave him back there without a worry of him being out there. So basically make sure that you have a good firing line with the big gun and the little guns. Although they're all 24-inch range, they can pick off a lot of those little smaller units, so keep him out. And probably worth mentioning actually as well, he's such an awkward model that you can actually position him in such weird places. So although my objective might be behind these cards, if I just sneak him out of his awkward base, you can then see out. So
you can
handsome.
If you position it right, you can block off charges to get onto the objective.
Just keep it blocked off to not allow through. So
I
good.
like that. That's
so good. Yep, that's that one. So anti-infantry, Dan, what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I think anti-infantry support is a really interesting way to use this. So you can stay in the backfield for the first couple of turns and delete your big threats like we just talked about.
Yes, yeah.
Then move it forward to use those Gauss flare arrays to clear the infantry that are going to be on those mid-board objectives. Yeah. And it's really helpful if you're playing against horde lists like Nids or Orcs. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of Orc horde list at the moment.
That's very true. And obviously with this new edition coming out, well, not edition, this new cards coming out, a lot of new battle line units becoming, so you might see a lot more chaff.
Yeah, you're right.
That's perfect a really unit for it.
Yes.
And then even on the flip side of that as well, the elite infantry killer. He's good at small chaff, but also the blast weapon. He's got the Doomsday cannon that just tears through any sort of units.
You made a good point before off camera. Is a lot of lists, particularly competitive lists, are maxing elite infantry. So if you can take them in 5s or 10s, people are taking them in 10s.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So obviously people want to maximize the amount of points that they're bringing. So typically when a blob of Terminators are being led by a leader, or even 2, maybe with the Apothecary and whatnot, they might want to buff out that unit even more to make them overbrick. So this is where this unit is that's exactly what I want to gobble up. I want to just destroy them as much as I can, and that's where their weapon, especially with blast, typically they're going to be at least 5 if not 10, so you're going to be at least getting an extra 2 damage, 2 hits, 2 shots for that to the void. I think that's going to be really good, really handsome.
Damage 4 is going to hurt,
just flat damage 4. Scary, because most of them are what tough wound 3 4s.
Terminators and Custodians are all 3 or 4 wounds each. I think, pretty much.
Custody killer, beautiful, love it. But I think that's the best ways to play. I think.
Yeah, fantastic.
Spot on. Do you want to move on to how best to defeat this unit, Dan? I want to start off.
You nailed it before. It is tight up in combat. I mean, for the start of the big gun as blast, you can't fire it into combat.
Can't fire it in combat.
But do watch out for the little guns, as we just talked about, because if you try and tie this up with 5 Gene Stealer cultists or something, the little guns are just going to mince them.
They will mince them. They certainly will. Yeah, because I mean, it's so horrible when that gets tied up, because he's such a. There's not because I think in this edition now there's nothing to get them out of combat. Yeah. Once they're in the past, we used to have the ability to be I fall back, and the little rules to be fall back and shoot.
Yeah,
and it's well, we have nothing. Once that's in combat, it's almost screwed.
I'm pretty sure if you're playing Hypercrypt, if your unit's stuck in melee, you can't take it off the board either. Can you?
Exactly. So it is legitimately stuck in combat. You'll have to dedicate another unit to come in and tie that unit up, and then kind of scoot them away.
Rescue it,
now it does have a 10-inch move, so if it was core in combat and it has fly, it could fly over your own units. Maybe if you're going to screen it out.
Yeah, you could fall back to
over. Yeah, something like that.
But he's going to lose a turn of shooting, which is what you want, isn't it, if you're fighting against.
It's hard. It's hard.
The fewer turns of shooting this gets, the better.
It does. So tied in combat, best way. Anti-vehicle as well. Although look, it does have an in-run save, so it is going to be quite tough to shake. But that still is like a 50-50. If you get some big guns through there, or even some big melee guns through, melee hits through.
Chain Fists have got anti-vehicle, and I think Dev Wounds, and I know Haywire from my Drukhari experience, that's Dev Wounds as well.
Oh, that'd be good.
On a 4 up, so that
goes straight through then, right? Gets rid of the invuln. You'll always forget that. I keep forgetting that.
If you get that combo where you've got anti-vehicle and Dev Wounds, you're laughing.
Oh, it's so good. Yep. Next one, anti-tank for you?
I mean, it does have a 4 up in Vun, but if you're putting a fancy tank into it, as you were just saying, make them roll enough 4-ups and they'll fail some.
Yeah,
you'll go down.
It's true. It is 50. I mean, no matter what they do, for you, the saving side of things, it's still just. I mean, anti-tank. Just I'm mumbling there now because I'm just trying to think of what anti-tanks out there. There's the volcano cannon. from the that's it's probably a bit too much for this guy, but hey, still it'll do the trick to get him down.
I mean,
one of them threw was like 6 damage.
Enough dart lances, enough las cannons, all of those kind of things. Unless there's nothing more depressing when you put loads of anti-tank into something with a 4-up invuln and it makes all its saves. It's one of my least favorite things.
It's true.
On statistically, probability wise, if you put enough anti-tank into it, you take it down.
It's true.
But just do mine. If you've got the better way to do it is any access to dev wounds like we just talked about. But if you have to put anti-tank into it, put a lot in.
Yeah, don't just do the odd one.
No,
focus it down.
Yeah.
Get it down. Yeah, definitely. Next one is stay away from it.
Yeah,
I think it's a valid thing because again, in competitive play, the way the terrain boards are set up now, there's plenty of space to hide. So and as long as you're using that kind of dedicated terrain pieces, there are plenty of spaces where you can get to objectives and stay safe and stay out of its firing line. Again, it might be quite hard with the Hypercrypt Legion being able to teleport the unit around, but still, you'll be forcing your opponent to be using the 1 CP to use constant precision to get them in the right spot. But stay hidden, stay away, plenty of opportunity for it.
And I think if they are playing Hypercrypt, the last one I wanted to touch on was screen well. Particularly if you're an MSU type of list, you can screen. It's quite a big, as you can see on the table here, it's quite a large model.
It is.
So even with Cosmic Precision, if you screen well, you can limit at least where it can come in.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
That can make a big difference.
Certainly can. Really good shout. Perfect. Well, that's the best ways to, I guess, defeat the unit. What about how do we play it, Dan?
Yeah, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, certainly can. So for me, again, although he synergizes very well inside the Hypercrypt Legion, I just find this unit be able to slide into any detachment, regardless of kind of regardless of which one it is. Yes. He has the stat block to warrant him being on the field in, again, the 200 points that you cost for spend for him. He can do a lot for me. He can, I primarily use him for a backline. I like to keep him on my objective, the 5 OC. I'm fairly confident that he's going to be holding that majority of times. If something comes in, although we keep saying it, something that deep strikes in, it's still going to make a 9-inch charge.
Yes.
It's still failable. Easily failable.
Absolutely.
And if that, typically those units that do teleport in the backfield are the elite of the elite, so they are big units. So in my head, I'm like, right, they need to fail that charge because if they fail that charge, he is going to shoot them and just take them down so easily.
Yeah, if you're left with if you deep strike your Terminators in and fail your 9-inch charge, you're left with your
hands down,
holding your willies in the wind.
He's just like, baby, what's going on here? Yeah, they will absolutely destroy them, which is exactly what he should do as well. But if they make that charge, goodbye. He's not going to be doing much.
I think that's a very good point, and using it as that kind of come and get me type of
unit, It's like I think again, it's since he's another way I like to play him as well. That he's such a big, tough unit. I love putting him slightly in the open to draw out their other big guns, because I'm just like, right, well, look, your big guns that you've got, I want to see them and I want to shoot at them. So bring them out. So I'm like positioning them badly, but I'm just like, oh no, I've misplayed. Come get me, just for them to come out, because I know for a fact that they're going to outgun them. Basically, this guy will most likely outshoot them, and any chaff that are nearby, well, they've got the little guns to kind of clean up the
as we talked about before, unless you get really unlucky on your 4-up invulns, he's likely to survive a round of shooting from your opponents. I mean, don't put him where every anti-tank gun your opponent's got his list can shoot him,
That'd be silly.
But if you're going it's a very good point. Like, if your opponent's got a Land Raider on either side of the table, you just pop yourself out. Right, what have you got?
I want to see it.
Unless you roll terribly and your opponent rolls like a god, it's not going down to a Land Raider.
It's really not. And it almost creates like those firing lines to secure. You might be moving up your infantry guys who want to get onto an objective. You might just place that behind those guys to then be like, right, well, anything that's going to come out and shoot my blob of warriors or my blob of Lich God that I've got, well, then the kickback's going to be a lot worse. So it's like, right, do you want to risk losing your big anti-tank to just killing off some chaff units, whereas I'm definitely going to get the shot off? So it's almost like a protector rule kind of thing. It's like, right,
it's like a big brother role in the playground. Like, if the bully starts picking on you,
it's like what all the dads always say. It's, if someone hits you, hit them back hard. That's him. That's what he is. He's the dad of the Necrons. But that's the way I play. What about you?
Similar, I think I'm a huge fan of it in Hypercrypt Legion. I think I would always take at least one, or probably 2 in Hypercrypt for the reasons that we just discussed.
Unreal.
And I also Generally, though, I generally prefer playing in Canoptic Court at the moment. We'll see what happens to Wraiths in the data slate.
Yeah. But they don't get minced.
Yeah, but and in Canoptic Court, as we touched on before, you have to take Doomstalkers because of the detachment synergies. But otherwise, I do absolutely love this unit. One thing I think we should quickly touch on that, as usual, we put this out to the wider community on
it's true.
Necron social media.
Yeah,
and as usual, you responded really well. Thank you. But one of the one mad lad came back with this incredible idea for a Death Star, which I think I'm going to have to try.
I'll have to try it as well. Yeah.
So he was talking about using two Doomsday Arks.
Yep.
The Silent King,
which
gives them rerolls of 1 to hit and wound. Is that right?
Yeah, so one of his abilities, he's got the Triarch abilities, is like they reroll the hit rolls of 1 and the wound rolls of 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's, particularly for the sitting still, that's you're hitting on 2s, rerolling your 1s. Come on then.
Easy.
But then he was also running them with a Canoptic Spider, because that gives them a 6-up
Feel no pain to vehicles.
Against the vehicles, which is really good.
Yep.
So the Silent King's a vehicle as well.
Certainly is.
So they're all benefiting from
nice synergy. Yeah, it's good.
And it gives them a 5-up Feel No Pain against, is it mortals and psychic attacks?
Spot on. Yeah, that's it.
And then there's running with a Techno as well and a Canoptic Reanimator, so they're both of which are adding more wounds back.
So the Reanimator gives them an extra D3 wounds back, and then the Technomancer's giving them extra wounds back at the end of their movement phase. Yeah. So
when you talk it through that, it sounds pretty bonkers, doesn't it?
It does. I think it's because obviously you forget, like obviously they've got the Doomsday Cannon, but the Silent King has 2 as well.
Yeah,
he's got his little 2. He's got their 2 little guys as well who are unreal. So I've been looking for a way to play the Silent King. So I think this is probably going to be one of the ways
it would be really interesting, I think, to give it a go. You highlighted a possible drawback is if you're playing on tournament terrain.
It's just like, there is so many firing lines at the end of the day, but there's also so much terrain where how are you going to squeeze these?
You've got to kind of shuffle it all up together.
These. I mean, that's a lot of units. That's 4 vehicles.
Big.
That's 3 vehicles. That's it. Yeah, big and awkward. Silent King, massive big base. These 2 guys, massive big bases. Telemancer can squeeze in behind. Obviously, soaking the Reanimator's that little bit bigger as well, but that Reanimator is only a 3-inch aura. So positioning them in a very awkward way has been quite hard to get them in the right position.
And you couldn't do that in Hypercrypt because you can only hyperphase 3 units per turn.
Exactly. And that's like 6 now, isn't it? Yeah. So, and it's probably worth mentioning, although that is a solid brick, that's 1,055 points.
Right.
So that is half your army.
Half your army, yeah. And so it would be, I'm going to try it just for the
laugh, really. Yeah. Just to see the opponent.
Somebody came up with a way to run Necron Immortals with a Night Side, the transport the other week, and you tried that out and really enjoyed it.
That was really good, yeah. So I'm really liking these comments because I tried that and I can recommend.
Yeah, so this one might not be so successcul. It's a little bit more out there, but I'm definitely going to give it a go.
Definitely give it a go. So really do appreciate you reaching out. It was very nice of you.
Good.
Yep.
And as we said, thanks to everyone for contributing on social media. We'll put your names up on the screen like we always do, roughly about now. Please remember to like and subscribe if you like these videos. It really helps the channel out. We're growing quite quickly now, thanks to your support, but everything you can do to help us would be much appreciated.
Definitely.
And fundamentally, let us know also how you run them in your list. If we missed anything off there, or you try any of these in your games, let us know how they go.
Thanks so much.